Being a network engineer, we are given tasks which are quite difficult to perform at times. For example, making an inventory of thousands of devices by manually logging in to each of the device and noting down all the serial numbers, or maybe upgrading all your devices in your environment. And this is what makes us decide or gives us an opportunity to change things. And that is where in automation comes into picture. So in this series, we are going to talk about Ansible and how you can get started with Ansible. So let's get started. First, let us try to understand what is Ansible. It is an open source automation platform which can help you define the infrastructure as a code. So the complete infrastructure that I am trying to build, I am trying to manage, all this I can do by writing a specific set of line of codes. It can help you automate tasks in various environment, whether you are running Linux environment, whether you are running uh, cloud environment, or whether it is a Windows based platform. It doesn't matter. You don't have to think about the differentiation in terms of the commands that you have to run on different platforms in order to achieve something. You don't have to think about it. It can also help you to mitigate the human errors. If you ask a person to collect the serial numbers of thousands of devices manually, there are a really high amount of chances that he does mistake in one of those specific devices in collecting that information. And that is what we are trying to avoid here. Mitigate the human errors. Why should you go with Ansible? The first answer is it is very simple. It provides a human readable format, or the code that we write is so simple for human to read that somebody who has no coding skill still will be able to understand them, what is it that it is doing, and will be able to write them. You as a network engineer with no prior coding experience can write code in minutes and even execute it to achieve your tasks. Next, it is powerful. The way that it can help you do configuration management, it can help you automate the workflow, it can help you upgrade different set of devices in your environment, do multiple tasks. The complete application lifecycle can be managed by Ansible. And the best part is it is agentless. So what do I mean when I say agentless? It basically means that you don't have to install any additional agents or softwares on your devices, whether it is switch, router. You don't have to additionally install any specific softwares. So it basically works on just pushing small modules which will perform the task, and then once the task is completed, those modules will be destroyed. Now let's try to understand some of the basic Ansible concepts. When we talk about Ansible, the infrastructure, there are two types of machines. The first is your control node. This is where we are going to install our Ansible. We are going to define our codes. And the second one is the managed nodes. These are the remote systems which we are planning to manage via Ansible. Then we have inventory. Inventory is basically a list of all your systems, whether a set of web servers, database servers, could be a servers in the cloud. So you can create a complete list of devices that we are going to manage. That will be defined in your inventory. When we are defining the inventory, it can be of two types. The first is static, next is dynamic. Static means you manually define all the IPs of various systems, that you are going to manage. And dynamic is when you want the IPs to be discovered from an external source via a script dynamically. Then we have modules. These modules are small pieces of codes, could be written in Python, PowerShell, or any other scripting language with some specific arguments. These modules are an essential tool. So Ansible basically ships with various modules to perform different types of automation tasks. Could be like checking a specific file if a file exists on the remote end system, or could be installing a software, removing a software, making API calls. Then you have tasks. Tasks is generally what is the activity that we are going to perform. So a module basically performs a specific task that we have provided it. Then we have plays. Plays are basically a series of tasks that we want to perform on a specific host. We define the play in a YAML file format. Then we have playbook. Playbook is like a combination of multiple plays. So it is a specific file in which we have defined some set of plays. Whenever the concept of Ansible comes into picture, state is very important because Ansible plays around with the state of your infrastructure. The state can be a current state or an desired state. So Ansible tries to see what is the current state of your infrastructure. Let's say, for example, I'm planning to install Firefox on a remote end system. So first we need to identify whether Firefox is installed or not. That will be a current state. And if you are giving it an instruction that Firefox has to be installed, that is the desired state. And at present, if it is not installed, that is your current state. So it tries to find out a difference. If there is a difference between either of these, then it will take the action in such a way that your infrastructure meets the desired state as per what you have defined. There is an important concept or the term that you will come across whenever you're working with infrastructure as code, which is idempotent. It basically means that, we can run the same script or the same set of codes that we have written on same host multiple times. It would not make a difference, or it would not make any changes. How? Let's try to understand this. For example, if your current state is not equivalent to your desired state, which means, taking an example of installing Firefox. So at present, if Firefox is not installed on my remote system, and I have given it an instruction as to install Firefox on my remote system. So now my current state is not equivalent to desired state. So Ansible will take an action and perform these changes. It will install Firefox on the remote system. Then the other case would be when the current state is equivalent to desired state. Once you have run the code once and it is successfully executed, Firefox is installed on the remote system, then you will observe, if you try to run the command, the same code again, you will observe that the current state and your desired state are same. So in this case, there will not be any changes applied to your infrastructure. Then we have plugins. These plugins are like small pieces of codes which can help Ansible to expand the capabilities. Now, combining all these components, we have the Ansible automation engine, where we define the inventory, API, modules, plugins, and you as an instructor can write ad hoc commands, give it to the inventory, the modules are going to be executed, or you can also write your specific playbook in YAML And based on that, the code will get executed on your remote infrastructure and will give you the desired result. So basically, when we talk about Ansible in action, what happens is the control node basically tries to connect to your managed node either via SSH or WinRM. By default, it is SSH. WinRM is mainly used for Windows environment, and it tries to push modules on your managed node, and these modules take the desired action that you want to make sure that your remote end infrastructure is in the actual state that you want it to be in. And once the modules take the desired action, these modules are going to be deleted from the remote end system. So with this, we have got a basic picture of how Ansible works. I hope you found this informative. In the next video, we are going to explore further. Thank you for watching.